Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about cinching up your girth, how to do that, and how to make sure that it's tight enough. So follow along and post any questions you might have down in the comments. Alright, so we've got a really rainy day here today, and so we're just doing some shooting from in the barn today. And as I said, we're going to talk about tightening up the girth and the best way to do that. A lot of this can be preference. I wouldn't say that everybody tightens their girth the same way, but there are some things that you want to pay attention to when tightening your girth and making sure that you're doing it in a way that best suits your horse. So I've already got everything set up here on Reno. As you can see, my girth is very loose. I just kind of have it sitting there so I can talk to you guys about it. The way that I do my girth is basically in 3 different stages. I tack my horse either in the aisleway like I have Reno here, in a stall, or in some grooming ties. And whenever I first put my saddle on my horse, the first thing I do is just get it on snug enough that I could walk away, and if the horse were to kind of move or maybe he got spooked, the saddle wouldn't fall off. So right now this is entirely too loose, and so I'm just going to do that now where I put it up just snug enough that it's not going to fall off my horse. So this is step 1 that I do. Okay, so in step 1, I can get my fingers under there, but it's fairly snug. I feel like I could walk away, maybe go get his bridle, grab my helmet, any last things I need to do before I get on, and my saddle's gonna stay put. The other thing I want to note is the way that I tightened up the girth. I did it slow. I didn't just yank it up to a good spot where I felt like it was snug. And so I'm gonna do that again just to show you guys. Loosen it up here. I want you to note how I just kind of barely bring it up and I kind of pause a little bit and I do it again. And I do that for his comfort, so I don't make him uncomfortable or make it all of a sudden just tighten up on him really quickly. So again, when I do that, I just gently pull forward, and now I'm going to kind of use my muscle and just kind of snug it up just barely. Perfect. So the other thing to note, and a lot of you guys probably know this, a lot of horses, whenever you first do their girth, they will kind of bloat their stomach with air, and they do that as a way to kind of keep you from getting their girth too tight. And so that's why a lot of times you'll tighten your girth and then you go to get on and you're like, why is my girth loose again? Well, that's because your horse is very smart and he filled his stomach with air so that whenever you walk away, he can kind of loosen it back up and it doesn't feel quite so tight to him. So that's also another reason why I do my girth in 3 different stages. So the second time I go to do my girth, I get my horse bridled and kind of give him a minute to move around, whatever, take that breath and get rid of it. And then I go back and I check my girth again. And at this point, I usually don't get it too much tighter than I did the first time, but I can usually get a little bit snugger whenever I check it the second time. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. He's had a minute. And so at this point, I could probably get 4 fingers under the girth. When I did it the first time, I got 1, maybe 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up again. I wanna note that when I do it slow and I don't just kind of yank it up really tight. And I try to keep that pressure steady, so again, it doesn't make them uncomfortable. And as you can see behind me, Reno is just kind of being himself. If he was uncomfortable in any way, he might throw his head, pin his ears back, switch his tail. There might be some extra movement going on, but you can tell he's very comfortable. So everything that I'm doing is fine with him. And if I were to do it up too quickly, he would do something to kind of let me know by some of those signs that I'm telling you about. So the third time that I check my girth, I take my horse out to the arena, and whatever your mounting area is, we have a designated mounting block. I do it there before I get on my horse. Now, you do want to know your horse and kind of know if he has any tricks or anything up his sleeve. I have some horses that just know that that's my routine, so I have to kind of switch that up for them. So for those kinds of horses, I might have to take them for a walk around the arena first, maybe just give them a little bit more downtime and then check it again. Or sometimes I have to get on and just kind of warm up a little bit and then get off and cinch it up again. The last question I really want to kind of note is, how tight do I get my girth? And again, this is a preference kind of thing. So some people like their girth really, really tight. I am not that person. I like to make sure that my horse can breathe. Can you get your girth too tight? Yes, you can. And sometimes people will get their girth so tight and their horse will kind of explode underneath them in some sort of behavioral outburst. Could be bucking, it could just be irritation, swishing of the tail, pinning of the ears, maybe not wanting to move forward, and it's probably because you have your girth too tight. So yes, you can absolutely get that girth too tight, and you want to keep that in mind. Again, this can vary per individual horse, but you want to keep that in mind. So I like to make sure that my girth feels just snug enough. You want to make sure that you watch some of my other videos about how to put on your saddle and making sure that your saddle's in the right position, because that can also have a lot to do with it. But if your saddle's in the right position and you know that your saddle fits your horse and you've definitely ruled those things out, you want to make sure that your girth isn't too tight, which could be causing some of those problems for your horse. We're now going to switch over to Pippin to talk about some more points on setting up your girth. And I just want to note that the reason I'm going to switch to him is because he gives some different signs than Reno did, and I want to talk about those and kind of highlight some. I just want to note that he is under veterinary care. He's under the care of a chiropractor, and he has routine updates and visits that he does. He also gets gut supplements to rule out any ulcers being into play, and we follow all those instructions from those specialists and make sure that he's as comfortable as possible. I also want to note that Pippin has his own specialized saddle pads, he has his own half pads, and he has a customized saddle that fits him specifically. So keep those things in mind because they're important for some of the signs that he will show us today. I wanted to bring him out to kind of show you some signs that Pippin sometimes gives me whenever I'm doing his girth. And he will really give me some signs if I do his girth too fast, and that's just because he's a little bit more sensitive. He's been through a lot on the racetrack. His muscles, bones, and joints have just been through a lot of really hard work as he was a young horse. So he's one that I have to have chiropracted often and keep up to date on just making sure that he feels good. And so I'm going to show you a little bit on how to do his girth, and honestly sometimes he gives me a little bit of attitude about it and sometimes he doesn't. So let's just go ahead and see what he does. I'm going to go through those same stages again, mostly just 1 and 2 because I'm not actually going to go out and ride today with all the rain. But I'm just going to kind of go ahead and take his girth and make it snug. And as you can see, it's pretty loose right now. So I want you guys to watch his reaction. I'm just going to make it snug like I did in step 1 earlier. Alright, so you can see he gave me a little bit of havoc there. And I just want to note that Pippin, we have mostly ruled this out as behavioral. But I do want to note that these signs are very important to pay attention to because your horse could be telling you things. So Pippin could be trying to tell me that he's sore. He could be trying to tell me that he has an upset stomach. He could be trying to tell me all sorts of things. And again, I want to make sure that I note that all of these things have been ruled out. He's been seen by a chiropractor and he's been seen by the vet. He's been treated for stomach ulcers, which is really popular in a lot of horses that come off the track. And he's clear on all of those things. So we've definitely ruled that this is kind of a behavioral thing at this point. And as I said earlier, it's something that he sometimes does. Now, if he were to do this almost every time that I cinch him, I would want to reevaluate those things and be sure that we don't have an underlying issue. But he doesn't do it every single time. It also tells me that he isn't hurting in any way. It's just something that we need to work through. The other thing I want to note about Pippin is he has a saddle that is customized to his back and his size. So the saddle that I actually ride him in is perfectly his size. So I know he doesn't have any saddle soreness, and we also do the soreness test on him every now and then just to make sure that it's not any of those issues. Since Pippin kind of has these things that we're working through, I have to be very careful about who saddles him and that they do it correctly, because if they go in there and they do it too fast, then it feeds into this behavior that he has, and then I have to go back and kind of rework the system that we've been working on already. So just for the last thing here, I'm going to undo his girth and redo it and see if his attitude or his signs change at all. I'm going to go ahead and loosen it back up to where it was when I first put it on him. Making sure that your horse is comfortable is a really big part in doing up the girth. Making sure that you have proper saddle fit. So we'll probably do a video coming soon on proper saddle fit, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video. We'll see you guys in the next one.